think the headlines are the headlines right now.
Welcome to This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon and Bryan Nale, your local experts on all things real estate in Middle Tennessee. Listen in as they discuss the current state of the market, the latest trends, and have a little fun while doing it. We do want to say the opinions voiced on this podcast are for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individuals. All right, y'all, welcome back to another week of This Week in Real Estate, where we're putting the yes in address. Yeah. That's what we do around here. Oh.
Say yes to the address.
Yeah. So there it is. There it is.
That sounds like that should be a show. Oh, wait. I think it might be.
It was close. It's a movie.
Yes to the Address.
Wait, is that a show?
I think it is. I think
I think it is.
Yes to the Dress was a movie. No, that was a show,
That
too.
was a show, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trent, good job, man.
This is important stuff.
This is important stuff, for sure. Anyway, hey, hi, Bryan.
Hey, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing all right. We just got back from Pigeon Forge. And
Did you do any hiking?
We did a little hike, just a little hike. We didn't do a big hike.
You didn't do any of the trails that I said?
No, we took a lot of folks with us that they would not have enjoyed that. Sure. But we did a little hike. We did the Metcalf
Bottoms.
Yeah, we did that. So it's a little short hike.
That's a great area. I love Metcalf Bottoms.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
We walked up to the school. We got in the creek a little bit.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was really pretty. But we floated the little pigeon.
Okay.
And then we also, all right, so the highlight of the trip for me at least, and I think for my family as well, we did zorbing.
Oh,
so
yeah.
have you done that?
I've not. It looks for like a blast.
Oh man, so.
Do you go upside down?
Oh, well, you could.
Yeah.
I did not. I got sideways, but not upside down. So for those of you that don't know what zorbing is, look up Outdoor Gravity Park. Check that out. And there's 4 tracks coming down a hill, and you're in these giant hamster balls, right? Like humongous, probably twice my height, okay? And you get in the middle of it, and it's suspended. It's inflated, but it's also got strings that hold it all in space. And they they put water in it about this deep in there, so you're sitting in water, and then they push you down the hill. And you roll down the hill, and it's if you will lay back and relax, it's like being in a perpetual water slide, right? Like the ball slides around you, and you stay relatively still.
Oh, okay.
But when you hit a bank, you move, and then you slosh, and then so Lacey and I were in one together, which you can put up to 3 people in one. And so that was interesting. I not to get weird, but I ended up on top of her. She ended up on top of me. Then we ended up back to back. It's all see-through, so don't be weird.
Don't get any ideas.
Yeah, don't be weird. And anyway, it was incredible. And then the other one we did was a little faster, and you had to do it by yourself. And man, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So highly recommend Outdoor Gravity Park. Getting in the Zorb ball thing and rolling down a hill. They literally just push you down the hill, and it's about 1,000 feet down this track. And super fun.
That's great. That's it sounds. Did you do anything like on the strip?
No, we try to stay off of there.
Good. People go to the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge area all the time, and there's so much nature, and zorbing's not necessarily nature, but you're outdoors. There's so many cool things to see and do in the area, like Metcalf Bottoms and hikes and stuff. And I always like it when people go and they don't go to the strip because you can see the other, like the peaceful side of that area.
Dude, we floated the little pigeon, and that was 3.5 hours, something like that, just sitting on a tube. And
that's great. That's relaxing.
I don't ever do stuff like that. Ever.
I can't. Did it stress you out to be still?
I did fall asleep. So when I sit still for very long, I fall asleep.
Okay.
I did doze off once. I don't think anybody knew that I dozed off in the water. I probably shouldn't do that, but I did. And it did a little, but I just gotta let it go, right? Like, I did have my phone with me, but I didn't look at it. Actually, that's not true. I did make 2 phone calls while I was on the river, but they were very short, and then they were over. One was to my son, so that doesn't even count.
It wasn't a business call.
No, it wasn't a business call. But yeah, it was nice. We played music. Had a little speaker with me, and we played some music and just hung out. We lashed made a little flotilla,
Yeah.
right? There was like 8 of us all hooked together.
That's a great afternoon.
Yeah, it was fun.
Good for
And
you
I
guys.
didn't get sunburnt, which my very white skin, that's very surprising.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
yeah.
All right. Let's move into some headlines. Let's talk
do it.
about the real estate market.
Let's see.
To you.
Man, I had a conversation today with a guy. We were just kind of getting to know each other a little bit, and I've been kind of formulating this thought, but it really kind of crystallized, and it definitely did while I was on vacation. Anytime you're on vacation, that's when you get busy.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me that this market that we're in now is like a summation of my previous 16 years in real estate.
Right.
So I started in 2009. In 2009, the market was very predictable. It was very easy to understand. It was just bad.
Yeah, it's just a tough market. It's
just bad.
Hard market.
It was hard.
There's
And
no such thing as an easy, by the way.
they all have their own challenges.
Their own challenges.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. But in 2009, 2010, and 11,
That was
it
a very hard market.
Dude, it was just slow. But you expected it, right? So I could sit in front of somebody that was selling their house and say, look, this could take 6 months. It could take a year.
Yeah.
If we're really lucky, it'll take 60 days.
Yeah.
And that was a conversation I had with everyone,
Yeah.
right? And I always temper that with, or it could actually, it is possible that it sells the day it goes on the market, especially if they had a unique property,
Yeah.
right? Totally possible. But that was how we started that.
Right.
And then you get into like 2019, 2020, 2021, and it's like, listen, we're going to have multiple offers. We need to be prepared for this. You need to have somewhere to go. Like, it's going to happen really fast. And it was predictable. It was hard in its own way.
Yeah.
And especially if you were a first-time buyer, it was really hard.
It's very hard for buyers.
But from an agency standpoint, it was predictable,
Yeah.
right? Wash, rinse, repeat. Every single deal was pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Right?
Waiving appraisals, waiving inspections, waiving
much the same.
Contingencies, like just
Do I need to fix my house up?
Yeah.
No. Do I need to do this? No.
Yeah.
You know, but and we could give solid advice that
Yep.
that was true almost every single time that we
Right.
gave it. This market is all of the above.
it is everything.
It is all of the above.
Yeah.
Right. So we have houses that are sitting for 100+ days. We have houses that go multiple offers within hours of them being listed.
Yeah.
And there's no, at least from my perspective, there doesn't always seem to be a predictor of that.
Yeah.
I had a listing in Smyrna, 3 weeks ago, and it was under contract in less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
And it's a nice enough house. Price point's pretty good, but it's not like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest house I've ever seen.
Right.
It's not in the best condition. It's not in the best location. But whoever it was, the person that ended up going under contract, that's the house they were waiting on, essentially, right? I have another listing, stunningly beautiful, beautiful pool, beautiful backyard, and it's crickets. We're
amazing,
priced right.
isn't it?
It
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. The pool is gorgeous. The pictures are incredible. The house is in great condition. The layout is fantastic. Everything about this house is great. It's crickets.
Crickets.
I don't understand it.
Trent, do you have a cricket audio?
Actually, I think I do.
Do it. Cricket it up. There you go. That's what we got right now, and it just doesn't make sense.
Good call.
Yeah,
Should have been all over that.
So I just, it's hard to predict.
Yeah.
And so what I'm seeing though is that you got to have that agent that has been in all of those markets.
And whether you're a buyer or whether you're a seller or if you're both, it's so hard to navigate that. And you also have, at the same time, you have loan programs that are getting harder, tightening the belt. So something that might have been a sure thing 6 months ago now might get to the last minute and just fall apart at the financing table because of different agencies and tightening screws. So it's so much harder, and that kind of uncertainty will end up manifesting itself and make things even harder, which will slow things down and which will make this even more of a challenging market for people to navigate.
And I think you just said the number one, look, to me, it's the word of 2025, right? And that is uncertainty.
Yes.
Right. And so fear, anxiety, and uncertainty There's just
But then you have other people who are so certain on, and this is more political, right? And it falls on both sides. You have certain people who are certain that in a year everything's going to be great and roses, and then you have other people who are certain in a year we're going to be in World War III, and inflation is going to be roaring because of tariffs, and so like on both sides, and so you have this incredible, like probably 60 to 70% of the country is completely uncertain. And then 30% of the country, 15% of the country is certain here, and 15% is certain here.
And they're the loudest group.
Yeah.
Right?
And it makes it so, and that makes it even harder for the middle to kind of like decisively move forward in this market. And if there's anything that you need to do in this kind of market is probably be pretty decisive.
Well, yes. And at least have a direction, right? And I think we've got to stop knowing what's going to happen and just accept that we don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
But yet we can still make things happen when we don't know what's going to happen.
Right. At
if that makes any sense.
We're talking about real estate and home, where I think a few years ago we looked at all real estate as a commodity, as an investment. And now it's kind of coming back to, okay, real estate's home. You've talked about the fun movers. We're moving because we want to buy a house that has a pool, that has an outdoor kitchen, that has a big bonus room. Now you're moving because it's where you need to be.
You need a home.
You need the home that you need. There's a little bit of a market mover out there right now. Everyone was hoping, or a lot of people were hoping that rates would be cut when the Fed met this a few weeks ago, and they did not cut rates. But the market mover here that I want everyone to understand is that if you're sitting back here right now as a buyer and you're thinking, well, I'm going to wait for the Fed to lower rates, then you're behind the eight ball on this, because it's the commentary after the Fed meets that moves the market. And so right now, Jerome Powell is even saying, and other members of the Federal Reserve Board are saying that they really think that they'll start to see the impacts of tariffs on inflation numbers in July. And so if it's not as inflationary as they initially thought it was going to be, and it's trending in that direction, that they'd be open to a rate cut. Well, them saying they're open to a rate cut is starting to move mortgage rates back in the green direction, where mortgage rates are getting a little bit better. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you're looking at a 45-day close, you might want to wait. Instead of doing a 45-day lock, you might want to wait the market out a little bit and see if rates get better for you as you're moving towards that 30-day lock. I'm seeing some similarities right now where the pricing on 30 and 45-day locks is the same or very, very similar. So that tells you the market is thinking that rates are going to be moving in a positive direction. Yeah,
and I think that's great, and I think that's fine. The reality is you can't wait out a market. How long do you put your life on hold waiting on something that may or may not ever happen?
And remember too, that while I'm saying this, we're talking about, I'm not talking about drastic movements. I'm talking, like
eighth of a point, quarter point.
We're not talking about moving down into the low sixes, high fives. I'm not saying that come July or August, because the Fed might cut rates. And what might happen is the Fed might cut rates 25 basis points or 50 basis points, and the market not like the cut. And then mortgage rates could go up. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that happen before. Mm-hmm. We've seen it the inverse of that, where the Federal Reserve rose rates and mortgage rates went down because the mortgage bond market was like, thankfully, they're taking inflation seriously and starting to raise rates. And that improved mortgage rates.
Yeah, interesting. Well, and I think the other thing when we talk headlines, I think we have to, on my side of the transaction, we have to acknowledge the actual headlines, right?
Yeah.
So we have to acknowledge Iran. We have to acknowledge, tariffs. We have to acknowledge all the things that are happening right in front of us, and understand that ultimately economics is group psychology around money, right? That's ultimately what it is, and not just money, but spending habits and fulfilling wants and needs versus just needs, those kind of things, just living versus thriving, those kinds of things. And so as we see more and more things for people to be anxious about, and I love what you said is that, 70% of the people are right here, and you've got 15 and 15 that are right here, right? And you almost picture like an inverse bell curve, right? They are so certain, and they are so certain, and these people here are so uncertain, and they're just shouting at each other over the top of it. And so, today it might take the herd and move it just a little bit this way. And then this person shouts something else, and it moves the herd just a little bit this way. And the more times that we pendulum swing in this little gap, in this little valley right here, the more uncertain and the more anxious and the more, not to go too extreme, but almost hopeless, that it seems like it doesn't really matter what we do.
And I think that's a great, that same kind of analogy is interest rates in a nutshell. Because let's say this is 6.5 and this is 7.25, and everything in between is kind of where things have been for quite a while now.
Yeah. And at some point you're down there in this valley and you're just like, it really doesn't even matter what we do.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And get there.
Yeah.
That's what I want you to do. I want you to get there. And because at that point, at that moment, you can rise above the valley,
all the clutter,
and just live your life and just do the things that you want to do, and understand that there's going to be a little hiccup here and a little hiccup there, but you just do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And let them shout at each other until they run out of oxygen and keel over. Not to be too, not literally, okay? Not literally. This isn't, please, NSA or whomever is monitoring this. I didn't mean it literally, but you get the point, right?
Keel over out of exhaustion.
Yeah, there you go. You just exhaust yourself and then go away. But man, I just feel like we're right there. I feel like we're in that moment right now where everybody is just tired of the shouting. They're just like, can you not just get tired of being tired of the other side?
Yeah.
Just be tired of knowing everything, but yet knowing nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, just be tired of that for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
What you just did.
Yeah.
Just breathe.
We did our networking group did an exercise this morning, and shout out to Ron Orr, who leads the devotional side of our networking group, and he had us all just close our eyes, and he's really good about this too. When he leads us in our prayer request part of this, it's like he says, "Let's bow our heads," and then there's like this pause before he talks, and that pause really allows you
calm,
to breathe and get your headspace into the moment. And there's so much power in that those little pauses in life, whether it's floating down a river or going out on a hike or just sitting down and enjoying a movie with your family or playing a board game. Those little pauses in life give you moments to really just
breathe,
just be,
just exist.
Yeah.
And it's interesting talking about that. We were reminiscing fondly of the whole COVID thing.
Oh,
right.
Man, yeah.
And that sounds super weird, right? But
Absolutely.
But for somebody like me and you and lots of folks, not being able to do and to go and to run and to worry and all of that, you were just home.
Well, you and I are different in this way that you feed off of that energy. And so for you would probably be stressed if you were just still for too long. And for me, I need to get home, and I need to just like, hey, this afternoon, I don't have anything to do but just be calm.
Here's the thing. I won't ever, this is being recorded.
Yeah.
This is the only time you'll ever hear me say that. I need that too.
Yeah, you do.
I just don't acknowledge it.
You do. Yeah.
And I do. I get energized in groups of people, and I thrive in those scenarios, and I love it.
Yeah.
But I totally ignore the part of me that says, no, you just need to sit still for a minute.
Yeah. And there's another pendulum too. I'm too quick to go to that. A quick story on Tuesday night. My son spent the night with Erica's dad in Lebanon, and our daughter was down the hall, group chatting with her friends from school, and Erica and I was done with work, and it was like, we've probably got 45 minutes before we need to get Audrey to bed. And I'm like, maybe we can knock out a show. Maybe we can just sit and talk. But no, there's things that we needed to do. We needed to use that 45 minutes wisely. So we went to the bonus room and we started cleaning it out. And so, but for Erica, she's more wired to like, hey, I've got some downtime. What project can I go do? And sometimes I'm like, no, Erica, we need to be still. And then there's sometimes when I'm like, oh, we've got 45 minutes. Let's get some downtime in. And she's like, no, Bryan, we've got things we need to do because we've got this 45 minutes. We need.
Well, she probably can't do downtime until her list is checked off.
Her downtime is, she's got a motor like you, man. She's always going. She's always got a project. She's always got something that she's finding to keep her active and keep her moving, keep her doing something. And Lord knows, I mean, our house has got plenty of little projects, and the honey-do list just gets longer every year.
Yeah. Accomplishment for me is relaxation.
Yeah.
If I get something accomplished, I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah. And I know, but there's also a part of me that I completely ignore that needs to sit.
Yeah.
And not fall asleep, but like just sit.
Just be.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
Man, we've moved this conversation all over the place.
Made it a counseling session.
It's been a fun conversation. I hope that people listening enjoyed that and got a chance to just be as they listen to us.
There you go. You remember Caddyshack?
Trent, where are you taking us next, man?
Let's do it. This is real. That's a good one.
Yes, please.
I like this one.
That's not a TV. That's a computer. No, it's a TV. I thought that was a mouse at first, but that's a TV. Man, I'd have a crick in my neck from going to the bathroom and watching Sports Center.
Legs would fall asleep.
I'm trying to figure out the ceiling situation.
Oh,
it looks like they.
Mirror?
I don't know.
I can't tell.
It might be, or almost looks like they cut a part of the picture and put another picture on top of it.
Oh, it might be. It actually might be. It might be one of those that's like three.
Like a mosaic of some sort.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think it is. You're right.
It's like a mosaic picture. That makes sense.
You know what? Let's pretend though that it's mirrors because that makes it even more fun.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I don't either.
This is pretty. I mean, it's functional.
That's what I said. I was like, if it was a computer, it could be pretty productive, maybe.
Is that a bathrobe or a boxing robe?
It
Yes.
has Harley Davidson on it.
It says Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
So it's a riding robe.
It's rad.
Let's hit the road in our robe. It's a road robe.
Road robe. Oh, that's good
Oh
stuff.
man, that's good. That's a good one.
That was a good one. All right.
I think
what
your
else?
11 o'clock's here, Trent.
I do too. We're all good.
It's only
It's not the
10:41.
worst
I
one
know,
I've ever seen.
We're early.
Yeah.
We got time.
This isn't the worst we've seen, but it ain't good.
No, that one's just, I don't know. It's almost functional.
Almost.
It's all right. So here's a little thing about like take everything out of the room. Do you notice how the tile changes on the walls?
Yeah, the size.
Oh, wow. I
Yeah,
just,
that is interesting.
yeah.
All right, Trent, take us to pro tip and then go tell your friend how to come into this building. We're up. All right.
Pro tip. All right, you go first or I go first. I think I kind of already did mine, but go ahead.
Take time to relax.
No.
Oh, okay. I'll go. Sometimes you have to know when to check your pride at the door. And it's Pride Month right now, right? So there's a little bit of a brevity there with that. But like when you are selling a house or making a move, don't be so egotistical that you look a gift horse in the mouth and end up costing yourself. If let's say you have a house and your realtor has said, hey, it's a tough market. We don't know what to expect. You do have a unique house. You have a wonderful home. Days on market now is running whatever, 60 days, 90 days. But we see some outliers and some sell quickly and some take 6 months. So when we get your house listed, just kind of be prepared. We don't know exactly what the timing is going to be. And then all of a sudden you get a full price offer the weekend it goes on the market.
Rock and roll, baby.
Rock and roll. Take it, roll with it. That's great. All right. Don't let that success cloud your judgment so that if it appraises a little bit lower, that you end up just blowing up the deal.
Well, and here's the other thing. All this uncertainty, like everything that we've been talking about, and we've been talking about for a long time now, but all this uncertainty, it culminates in the appraisal.
Yeah.
Because let's talk about an appraisal for a second. An appraisal, Number one, it is not for the buyer. It is for the bank.
It is actually for the investor.
Yeah.
It is. It's not even for the bank.
It's for whoever ultimately is going to hold that loan, right? It's for the bank,
exactly.
the investor, whatever that's going to hold that loan. And what it really does is it essentially stamps yes or no, approve or not approve on the deal that you've already struck.
Yeah.
Right. So what is anything worth? It's worth whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. Except that if somebody else is then buying the paper, somebody else is going to hold that for a period of time as an investment. It's a safeguard for that person or entity or whatever to say this is worth holding.
Yes.
Right. And so it is an opinion. Okay. It is an opinion that is now through statute protected. Okay. And so the person that gives that opinion, there's a purposeful, and there's lots of reasons why this is a good thing. There's a purposeful separation between the people that struck the deal that said this is what it's worth and the person that double checks that and says, no, this is a good investment. And it's purposely separated.
It is.
Right?
Didn't used to be.
Didn't used to be, but it is now. And that's not a bad thing that's separated.
No, it's not. It is an independent valuation.
And ultimately, it's still an opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. And opinions,
Great point.
especially,
Yeah.
especially in this market, especially in this climate, all that fear, all that uncertainty, all that opinion on which direction something's going to go, whatever, all of that, it still resides in the person that formulates that appraisal.
Yeah.
Now they stick to a lot of factual information. They stick to bedroom counts and square footage counts.
Yeah.
And even, by the way, on square footage, even that varies.
Yeah.
So you can measure a house, I can measure a house, and we both are right,
Well,
but we're not.
Condos are measured differently than
And stairways and closets, and I mean, like you get into all kinds of stuff, right? I digress a little bit, but the point is that it is my opinion of what this house is worth.
Yeah.
Now it's based on fact, it's based on training, it's based on an apprenticeship that I did, all of these things. It's based on parameters. This is what a lot of people don't realize. It's based on parameters that are unique to whatever loan type it is. An FHA appraisal is not the same as a 20% down conventional appraisal.
Right.
And neither of them are the same as a VA appraisal. There's processes involved in those that are different for each loan type.
And you have to understand too, another thing here is that you have to understand the market that you're in. So if 2 years ago, if a house appraised low, tough luck. This is the sales price. You're either going to buy it for that, or we're going to put it back on the market and we'll get another offer next weekend. That's not the market we're in now. Mm-hmm. So if you don't check your pride at the door, and you stick to your guns and you say, no, we listed it for $415, we got a $415 offer. I don't care that it appraised for $390. We're going to take $415.
Or nothing.
Or nothing. You might end up with nothing. You might go back to the market and it might sit for 6 months before you get another offer. When the next people come along that are a little bit interested, they say, well, why did that deal fall through? Well,
you have to tell them.
You can't lie.
Right.
You can't lie about that. So, so you just be careful, and make your decision from a standpoint of the advice that you're getting from the realtor that you trusted to hire in the process. Your lender can weigh in on this. You've got to listen to the people who are around you that you've trusted to guide you through this transaction. And
two other bits.
Yeah. Go.
Sometimes you can fight an appraisal. Sometimes.
Right. Sometimes you can,
especially if you find factual errors in it.
Yes.
Right. But sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing I will tell you. The more unique your home is, the harder that appraisal is.
Yeah.
Because let's say you have a gorgeous swimming pool and a 6-car garage at your house in Murfreesboro. That's a $500,000 house.
Yeah.
Find me a comp on that.
I had one in Nolensville.
They don't exist. Spoiler alert.
There was one in Nolensville that this was a deal that fell through, and this was a pride thing on the seller. It was listed, let's say $650. My buyer came in, gets under contract for $635. It appraises for $450. We're like, whoa, what? Well, it's one of these properties in Nolensville and one of these mixed use communities where the second and third floor are residential real estate, and then the bottom floor is storefront. Now, those are allowed. you can do those. Okay, you can do a conventional loan on that all day long, but you're only going to give. It's kind of like when you have an accessory dwelling unit. The living space is appraised up here, and then you have this other square footage. It's just kind of like, it's not really residential in nature. There's big storefront windows, and so it became a big thing. Well, and the reason I said that about condos is when we filed the appraisal reconsideration of value. It's not called a dispute anymore. It's a reconsideration of value request. We filed that, and the appraiser was like, "Oh wait, I did make a small mistake. It's a condo, so my square footage is incorrect. It's measured from the outside of the walls instead of the inside of the walls." And so he came back and he adjusted the square footage, and it brought the value up a little bit, but nowhere near what the people were wanting to get for it. And as far as I know, that house, I don't think it ever sold that unit.
Well, I think that's the lesson here is there are things that are valuable in the appraisal sense of value,
Right.
and then there are things that are valuable in like a curb appeal
Right.
side of things. And a lot of times in Rutherford County, swimming pools fall into that category.
Yeah.
If you put an in-ground pool in at a 1,200 square foot house, you're not going to get value for that.
No.
Because there's no comps.
Yeah.
So in order for me to give a value to that, I have to have a comp that doesn't have a pool, that the house is the same, and a comp that does have a pool, and there has
See
to be
what
a
the
difference
difference is.
in there, and that's how I can assign a value.
Yeah.
Right? You have a 6-car garage, same deal.
Yeah.
Right? Show me one that has sold, and show me one that doesn't that has sold, and now I can see what that value is. Basements are the same way in Rutherford County.
Yep.
They don't exist.
Yeah.
And I had a listing, this is a long time ago. It had all of that. It had an in-ground pool, a 6-car garage, and a basement.
They found a lot that wasn't on rock.
Yeah. And so guess what happened? We got virtually no value for any of those. But on the contract for the buyer, all 3 of those had value.
Yeah.
Right? And so they were willing to pay here.
Over the appraised value because they understood what they were getting.
They were willing to pay here, but the appraisal was here.
This property,
so we had to figure that out.
The property in Nolensville would be perfect for somebody who cuts hair, who wants to run a small retail shop, who wants to...
but they can't assign a residential real estate appraisal value
exactly
to that shop.
Exactly.
Can't do it.
So is the right buyer out there who may pay $600,000 for that house? Maybe, because to them it's worth it to commute down the stairs. But they can see how they're going to be able to monetize that portion of their dwelling is there a buyer for it? Yeah, probably. But
is there a lender? Is there a lender for it? Probably.
It goes back to what you said. You're not going to get the residential real estate value out of that portion of the square footage.
You're going to have there's probably a lender for that. Honestly,
Yeah.
There's probably a small bank somewhere that looks at that as just a property.
Yeah.
Right. Forget resident, but they're going to hold the loan. They're going to charge more for it.
Yep.
They're going to portfolio it.
They're going to make sure that the person who's buying it has a proven track record as a small business owner. Yeah.
Yep. So it's possible to get financing on that, but not in a normal way.
Not in a normal way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good pro tip. Yes, what was the actual tip here? Oh, check your pride.
Check your pride at the door.
And as always, hire a professional that can figure out how to do it.
And then trust that professional.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it always comes back to that.
It really does. It really does. Yeah.
All right, y'all. Good show. Good show.
Good stuff.
All right. Any quick announcements?
Just not really, man. We've had a heck of a month at Cedar Glade as far as events, and we're slowing down just a little bit, which I am kind of excited about. We've got a comedy show. Hey, if you like comedy and you don't like swear words and genitalia and things like that, this is the comedy show for you. So the worst it gets is PG-13, and usually it stays PG, and it's they're really funny. Local comics, they do a great job. So that's Friday night. So it's called Clean Comedy Collective, and then we get weird on Saturday with
what time on Friday?
7:00 at Cedar Glade. Good. And then we get weird on Saturday with Count Drahoon and Scuffle Moss Treeman at 8:00. They're doing Best Alien Invasions, and it's going to be a blast. They're bringing in 3 comedians to sit down. This one's going to be wild. I don't know what to expect on it.
That's going to be awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out to Count Drahoon. All right, y'all. Good stuff. Another episode. We'll see y'all next week.
See you next week.
Appreciate y'all. Bye. Thank you for listening to another episode of This Week in Real Estate with Jonathan Harmon and Bryan Nale, your go-to resource for all things real estate in Middle Tennessee. Be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. We will see y'all on the next one.
Now for the nitty-gritty. Primis Mortgage Company is a subsidiary of Primis Bank, a member FDIC. Primis Mortgage NMLS number 1894879, BK number 1042893, ML number 1894879. As always, all loans are subject to credit approval and product guidelines. Equal housing lender.